What do you say we dissect a pumpkin? Now, what's really interesting about pumpkins is that they go back a long time. In fact, the original pumpkins were thought to be such to where they were really tiny and small and super hard gourds that were very bitter. But today, it's a different story. Through hybridization and such, we can get pumpkins up to 2,000 plus pounds. Now, who in the world is doing that? I think the world record is around 2,700 pounds. But after all is said and done, what do we do here with these pumpkins? Now, these actually grew in my yard, and by the time I'm filming this thing, these are actually several months old. I picked them a long time ago because I just kind of wanted to goof around and see what's going on with them, especially inside. There's a lot of magic to pumpkins. Now, to growing these things, it's really super simple. You can get your seeds at your local nursery or garden center. You can buy them online, or you can get them from the pumpkins themselves. So there's a lot of different ways of doing that. Now, if you've never cut open a pumpkin before, they are poochie stinky inside. It's totally an acquired kind of scent that comes out of these things. And it's nothing that I'm exactly 100% fond of, I'll tell you that much right now. But there's a lot of different uses for these. And first off, when you end up growing a pumpkin, and we wanted to dissect these, we didn't want to grow these. You're going to be growing them in a mound about this big, about 1 foot in diameter. You would poke 5 holes on the top of this mound, drop your seeds in, cover them up, and then when they start growing for you, then you'll pull out all but 2 or 3 of them. Now these vines, they're going to shoot out to more than 20 feet. In fact, I had vines off of these pumpkins right here. Boy, did they grow. They grew probably a good 40 to 60 feet. And I grew 1, 2, 3, I had 4 vines all together. Now this right here was actually the average size of the pumpkins, and once the plant started to wind down, they got a little bit smaller, a little bit more oblong, or this is another one that was actually kind of cool. But anyway, they get smaller as the season carries on. But in the big scheme of things, most of them were about this size. So off of the 4 pumpkins that I grew, the 4 pumpkin plants, if I'm not mistaken, I had about 40 to 45 pumpkins, gave most of them away, hanging around with some of them. Now, I don't know if I have any that are manifesting themselves right now, but when you leave a pumpkin not open, not cut open, they start to get these little sugar oozing out of it. And it's very common for this to happen. They're little droplets, we'll just call them, of sugar. See, I don't know if I have any here or not that are doing that. But I've kept these very cool inside here at the thingsgreen.com Botanical Gardens because I just kind of wanted to see what would happen several months later. Now, we do know this much. When we start cutting into a pumpkin, we are looking at anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks to when it just really 100% rots out. That's why if you're the type of person that likes to carve these things out, they don't last very long after they've been cut. But if you were to take them and leave them, and this is why during certain times of the year, when you take and you do decorating on these, they don't cut them open, or we don't cut them open, because I think we're part of that they. We don't cut them open because we don't want them to rot, and they'll stay a very long time. A pumpkin should last you anywhere from, say, August is right around the harvest time, the beginning of it, and they'll go all the way in through December with mild weather. So these things do last a long time. Now, the Native Americans, they grew a pumpkin or a squash, because this is considered in the squash family as well as the pumpkin family. In fact, when we open up the seeds, you're going to see that they look like squash seeds. In fact, if you go to your local market and you buy pumpkin seeds, turn it over, read the ingredients, chances are you're going to see that it says squash seeds, because squash actually are more prolific growing and you'll get more seeds out of them. Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's start cutting these open and dissecting them up. Let's just start with this one right here. Well, there's a lot of different ways that we would cut these up, and it all depends on what we're going to be using them for. Now, pumpkins can be used, in fact, all parts of the pumpkin, from the leaves all the way down to the pumpkin themselves, except for this right here. I don't know if I would want to eat a big old stem. It is definitely edible. Now, you're going to have some kind of knife. Usually I would cut this with a serrated knife, but I couldn't find one. I actually have it over at the homestead because I cut these up for my chickens. And boy, this is like caviar to them. In fact, let me just do this real quick. If I was to take this right here and cut it up for the chickens, this is exactly how I would do it. I would just take and I would cut this like this and just cut it right open. And I would do these in these rounds like this. And again, this is several months old. Be very careful as you're cutting these. Super, super careful. Don't want any fingers to be cut off, that's for sure. And actually, you can cut it this way if we're going to be using the meat on the inside for culinary purposes. I guess I'm not going to cut this up after all. Let's put this down here. We'll come back and get that later. Okay, so here's the pumpkin. Now, I can tell you right now that a younger pumpkin, the meat in here is going to be much more on the moist side. So obviously the moisture is being drawn in, and the plant is still trying to live, as the truth be known. But look at all these seeds. These seeds are just amazing. There's just tons and tons of these seeds in here. It is said that a pumpkin can have upwards of 500 seeds. I don't see 500 seeds here. Now, if we were to take these seeds and we were to wash them and dry them, that seed, come next year, you can, or come, time to plant it, that will germinate. Now, the dealio is this. Do you want to grow an award-winning pumpkin, that 2,700 pound pumpkin? Well, the way you need to do this is you need to get a large seed. The bigger the seed, the bigger the pumpkin you're gonna grow. And then you have to baby it like crazy. Once that pumpkin starts growing, you don't put any other pumpkins on that particular vine. It's that one pumpkin. You put your energy underneath it. In fact, you're probably gonna grow it on top of a pallet, because that pumpkin's gonna have to get picked up by a forklift, put on a truck, and then take it to wherever the competition is at. Now, if you're going to be eating these things, you can eat them raw, or you can take and you can clean them up and bake them or dehydrate them or dry them out for eating purposes. So it really doesn't matter how you're going to do it. I'd eat this right now, but it's slippery. So having water is really important for doing something like this. So we're going to just yank this all out, and again, not a great, lovely stench on here. The stink cell, all I'm doing here is I'm taking and I'm releasing the seeds. Now, I'll tell you right now, when it comes to an older pumpkin like this, yeah, I'm digging on this. I am totally digging on this. An older pumpkin like this, it releases from the seeds. The seeds release from this right here, this pithy stuff, so much easier. Look at all these seeds. Oh my goodness, those are beautiful. And I've been giving them to my chickens? Why would I do that? Okay, so the chickens, they literally devour this stuff. And it's kind of fun watching them. You would take and I would cut them up like this. I've been just throwing the whole thing in. I would always take and make sure if I threw it inside the coop that it would land face up, not down like this, because that's kind of hard at first. But they will eventually devour the whole thing. Now, here's the story with chickens. You can't give them too many treats. You can give them a lot of scraps, you can give them stuff. You have to give them the right kind of food for them to eat, because having the right kind of food is super important so that they would lay the eggs. But you can't give them a lot of different things. And I am just loving this. This is so awesome. Look how these seeds are just coming right off like this. Now, what I would do with this is that once I'd have these nice and washed off, I'd put these in a sieve, wash them off, and then I'd put them on a dehydrator rack, and you either do it in the oven. Now, if you're going to do it in the oven, you have to put it down like at 125 degrees, and then watch them. You don't want to burn them. Now, you could always do this. Once you get the seeds like this, once you take these seeds like this, you could change it, soak them in salt water if you want. You could do that. It'll absorb them. Don't wash it off afterwards. Then you could put them on that tray, dehydrate them, and dry them out. And then you could eat them right away, make them nice and crunchy. That's what I like. What's really fascinating about the pumpkin seed, it has more calories in it than does the actual meat. Now, when and why would we use this meat? Well, this is why we're dissecting this today. We're gonna just be showing how we would do this. And then you could take and you could freeze this once everything is nice and done. So first thing I would do is I would clean it up on the inside, and there's a lot of different ways you can clean this up. You can get a spoon, or you can get a whatever here, all right? That's good. Those are more seeds. This right here, the chickens are gonna gobble up, even though they're not turkeys, but they're gonna gobble them up. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut all this yucky stuff off. Probably should wash it, but I don't have the sink up here. So we'll wash it, we'll cut it up like this, and then what we'll do is that we're gonna cut this thing up, and then we want to take off the rind. Take off the rind. Now the rind is going to be tough. Got to be careful here because you can cut yourself up. And pumpkins are used for a lot of different things. They're used in breads. They're used in soups. Very, very popular. So you ever have pumpkin soup before? It's good stuff. Now the neat part about doing like this, you can prepare all this kind of stuff ahead of time, freeze it for quite some time, or look it's literally been months. These pumpkins are months old, and they're doing so well right now. If you wanted to eat the rind, I guess you could. I wouldn't. So this is what we would do here with this. So now we have this rind part, and then you would probably want to take and cut them up in little chunks like this. Wash them. Wash them up, and then I would freeze them. Now there's two different ways that you could freeze these. You could freeze them, just put them in a vacuum bag and freeze them, or you could take them and just put them in a bag and freeze, or you could put water around them inside the bag and then freeze them that way. And then of course when you're ready to use it, you have to put this on you put the bag on the counter, allow it to defrost. And once it defrosts, you're gonna be rocking and rolling because it'll be nice and hydrated, much more hydrated. As far as the taste is on these, yeah, they're just kind of bland. You have to spice them up. That's why with, pumpkins, they put a lot of sugar inside of them. Sugar from actually that tastes really good. Now when they're younger and they have more of the, we'll say the juices in there right from after you've harvested them, they do have a little bit more flavor, but they really don't have a strong flavor to where it's overbearing. The smell, like I said, is probably the worst thing. You have to kind of get used to it. I am 100% right now used to the smell. I've done a lot of pumpkins in my life, but oddly enough, the way that I've done pumpkins and I've used them, I'm going to show you right now how to do it. And then come that time, you know what? If you had a really super good peeler, you'd never be able to peel that. They're just too things. Go online and look for recipes for this stuff, okay? I've actually seen people take and use these for pills, medicine. They do that. Okay, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna sacrifice this one right here. Just for fun. Now, I don't have all the tools. Do I have something here in the studio? I don't see anything that I could use, but you're gonna get the idea. And this is really fun to do. Prepare for this. That's what I'm saying. It's all about a preparation kind of aspect. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna make a planter out of this pumpkin, okay? All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the top off, just like this. And there's two different ways of doing this. One's gonna rot it out really fast, and the other way, it'll stick around for a little bit. Now, do you remember when I mentioned to you that the pumpkin will rot very quickly after it's cut? That's right. All right, check this out. Whoa! Look at this. Isn't that awesome? Look how the network of stuff is in there. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful how this was created. Lots of seeds. Pull these seeds out right now. Now, for your planter, you don't have to do any cleaning of it out. But why wouldn't you want these seeds? It's just a fun thing to do. You can put these on a little toaster oven, by the way. Okay, so we can leave it just like this, or what we could do is that we can clean it out. And I'm just gonna clean it out right now because I'm goofing around over here with you. Might as well do it all the way. So this is kind of gross, but it's cool at the same time. Look at that. Then we're gonna put it in here and look at these seeds. Look at all these seeds we're gonna have. Waste not, want not, right? Okay. If I'm not mistaken, the pumpkin was not called a pumpkin at first. It was called something. It started with a P though, and then it morphed into the word pumpkin. All right, so now we're nice and clean here, clean-ish. So you can leave it like this. Now there's two things you can do. You can take and you can just put some soil in here, put a plant in here, and then watch it grow, and then just do that. Put this someplace. You're gonna have to put it outside. You can put it inside. You put it as a centerpiece. It's going to start rotting out. The second I cut it, it's gonna rot out. And then what I would do, and I like doing this, you take and you slice off the bottom like this, make it straight-ish. Maybe a little more straight-ish, Nick. Like this. And then you could put this in front of it like this, lean it up against it, you have your plant that is growing out. It's just wonderful. Now, if you don't want to put soil in here, as it is, you're getting out goopy as it is, you can actually take and use just your pot. Put your potted plant right in here. Get something that's, depending on the size of this, of course, get something that has a little bit of height on it if you want. Put it inside and just leave it at that. If you're gonna use it for a centerpiece, you may wanna get smaller ones, and then get yourself some herbs and use them for centerpieces and put herbs inside there. And then this way, when they're in the middle of the table, you can have cilantro, you can put rosemary, you could put whatever kind of herbs, basil that tickles your fancy, put it inside, and then you can take and just pinch it off and use it as you need. So that's basically it here. We've taken and we have dissected, I guess we call it. We dissected a pumpkin. There's a lot of different uses for it. You can, and by the way, it's all recyclable to one point or another. Take this and you just cut it up and give that to, what do you call your rabbit will eat this too. I used to have such a cute little rabbit. It was a big white bunny like this. It's a free range one that we had at our homestead. But it's just really, really cool to have this kind of stuff around. So if you're able to grow pumpkins, make sure you have plenty of room. They need full sunshine. They take a lot of water. These are around probably 85 to 90% water. That's why when I originally opened it, I go, oh, that's kind of odd. But this bigger one over here has more of that traditional pumpkin kind of moisture that you would see if it's a younger pumpkin. Get your pumpkins. You could buy these pumpkins. They're really inexpensive, and you could really, after the 31st of October, you can actually get these things almost dirt cheap, because a lot of people, they don't keep them around for Thanksgiving, but you can grow these things, And once you harvest them, and there's a lot of different ways of harvesting. I usually wait till this stem over here gets a little bit on, it can still be green, but you can tell that it's just starting to brown out just a little bit. And then always clip that so that you have some sort of stem on it. So this way, number one, you got a way to carry it. And by the way, it's gonna hurt. If you were to take this and you were to carry it like this, it's gonna be a little bit of an owie because there's little pokies that are on there, as well as the leaves, by the way. They say that they are edible. I've never actually ate a pumpkin leaf that I know of, but I'm sure there's recipes out there and about. They have the same thing for like squash. You could eat the leaves of the squash, but there's usually pokies on there. I don't know if I would want to do that. But that being said, we have a lot more pumpkins here to cut up, and Mrs. Things Green is gonna say, what did you do this time? And she's probably right. So remember, whenever out in the yard and garden, green side up.